Narp, come watch, it's time, set the clock. Hitting like Ray off the block. Feel like MJ with the rock. Home run like Sammy Sosa. 2 clutch last period. Get ready, set, go. This a Narp experience. It's a Narp experience. It's a Narp experience. It's a Narp experience. It's a Narp experience.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the NARP Experiment. Today we got part 2 of the Bradley Beal trades, trade offers, trade ideas, whatever you want to call them. Jumping right into it, the first one we have today is one that I did, and this will be Bradley Beal going to the Dallas Mavericks.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's only one chance this happens, and that is the Wizards want some picks because we have no assets. Or if they want expiring money, we can give them that. So this one is actually a lot of players, 4 for each side. The Mavs would be receiving Ish Smith, Brad Beal, Jerome Robinson, and Isak Bonga. And we would be giving up James Johnson, expiring 15 mil. Tim Hardaway, expiring 19 mil. Dwight Powell, 3 years, 11 mil, which I'm pretty sure you can get out early on. His last year is not guaranteed. And then Jalen Brunson, 2 years, 1.6, which I guess he is an asset. Then we have a bunch of first rounders, 2 pick swaps, and 2 firsts. I just want to get your take on it first before I go in and explain my...
Just looking at it off the bat, I still don't know if it's fully enough, because if the Mavs get Bradley Beal, those picks won't amount to anything. But of course, if you're the Mavericks, you at least have to try. So just looking at from like face value, I like the players being shipped. You're not giving up any of your core. I also don't know what the Wizards would want in return outside of the picks when it comes to Dallas's personnel. If you're not giving Kristaps in the deal, which it sounds like they're not trying to do that, the next best asset you can probably give up would be Josh Richardson or these expiring deals in Tim Hardaway and James Johnson, just along with a bunch of picks. So, and then of course you're supplementing Dallas with some other young guys that you could still get a chance to take a look at in Jerome Robinson and Isak Bonga. But so what were you thinking when you were constructing this deal?
It's just match for Bradley Beal and then throw in the other guys for salary filler, because it wouldn't work without him, and they need a center. Dwight Powell can at least play center for them this year, and he is actually he's not a true center. He is a power forward.
Right.
He can play 5, but he's a good power forward, a good wing defending power forward. So he's a little bit out of position in Dallas. Most of the time he runs. I don't know why we like to run him the way we do, but we do. So he would help them. Isak Bonga and Jerome Robinson are just to fill salary. Mm-hmm. Isak Bonga is a good young player. You can switch him out for anyone else who could make the money work on their roster. It's just they have so many guys that are just not really amounting to anything right now, that I don't think they're too high on Isak Bonga anyway, because Scott Brooks was already asked why he got a DNP earlier in the season, and his reasoning was somebody's got to sit. You can't play them all. So clearly he is not in favor there. And then Jerome Robinson too just fell out. To be honest, none of these guys would stick around Dallas's roster other than Bradley Beal.
Right.
Maybe Bonga would, but there's no way to tell what they'd get this offseason. None of these guys would probably stick around, so those guys are just filler for Brad Beal. The only chance this happens is Bradley Beal says he wants to go to Dallas.
Right. That's what I
And
was thinking. That'd be the only way possible because I feel like we've heard through the rumor mill that if the Wizards want to deal Bradley Beal to the Mavs, they would want a return somewhere around Kristaps. A deal surrounded, around Kristaps. And of course, Dallas brass is like, nope, hell no, we ain't doing that. So
I don't even know if they would now either, just because Kristaps has looked so bad the past couple of games, and it's coming off of his second big knee injury, and it wasn't really that big. It was a meniscus, and
Right.
people usually come back from those. It's just this. He didn't have as much time to heal as he would have liked to because this year has just been so crazy. And, I mean, there's a billion different reasons of this. I could go on about the Mavs, but I don't know that KP would even be something they would want, because do the Wizards want 4 years of Kristaps making like $30 million right now to sit on their books?
right,
If he isn't worth it, So I was gonna say the only other chance, like probably if first off Beal would have to say he'd want to come to Dallas, and then second off, the Wizards would want to just get money off the books and get some space to take on expirings, because that's what would happen if they did this deal. They'd get out of the Bradley Beal contract, so they would not have to pay him the 40-ish mil he's going to end up getting per year, and that combined with Westbrook's would absolutely kill their books. They wouldn't be able to get better, plus Berton's deal. They wouldn't even be able to get better if they wanted to, keeping Beal to add talent around.
Right.
So they're going to move Beal this year or next year. It's only a matter of time, and it would just be, if they want to clear their books or clear up a bit of money, obviously you're not going to be able to move Russ. Beal would be the one, and it's going to be, if you can get someone like Ben Simmons, probably they should do that if they can.
Right.
But if they can't find that marquee young guy and they want to just clear up cap space, because look what the Rockets just did. They got a haul and picks, and Harden's obviously worth way more than Beal will be, just because of the playoff experience, I think. And he's just proven it on the big stage a little more.
Right.
But that's why they got so many picks.
He's also been he's also just been more
Rockets,
successful too. I mean, I just think
who
he's
did
a
the
little
Rockets
better.
get back player wise? All they got was Depot and some guys who are going to be gone. They got expirings. So it's not uncommon for a team to just want to take back expiring money just to be able to go in a new direction in a rebuild. And that is what I think they should do if they can't get, like I said, a Ben Simmons. And I personally don't think anyone else would really be worth not rebuilding for, especially if you're you can go look at the roster if you want. We all know it's not the greatest, but
It's one of the worst rosters in the league by far.
So this would obviously help the Mavs to get their second best player, honestly. And
just imagine that
contender.
Imagine that
They
three-headed
keep most of
monster
their guys.
with Porzingis healthy. You're looking at Luka, Beal, and Porzingis. So many ways to score on the court. You're a little concerned about the defense between the three. I mean, Porzingis would be the best defender out of the three, but still, it just too hard to guard on the offensive end for a lot of teams. And I mean, at that point, you still get to keep Josh Richardson, who's a great defender, another off-ball guy who can do some on-ball duties and whatnot. But you're still keeping your core, and you're just adding Bradley Beal and giving him up or getting him for expiring money. I mean, you lose Tim Hardaway Jr., but that's fine because you get Bradley Beal. So obviously it would be a total win for the Mavericks. Instantly put them into Western Conference contender mode immediately. But yeah, I wouldn't mind this deal. Once again, Bradley Beal, I understand the return for Harden, but I think Bradley Beal might still be worth a little more than what's in this deal. But yeah, you're right in the sense of you're getting 4 first-round picks, all are beneficial to you, and then expiring money to give you a chance to go in a new direction, clear up your books, and figure it out from there.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next one. This is one of the ones you came up with, and this is a Nuggets.
Yep.
We'll do the Nuggets. This is Bradley Beal to the Nuggets, which a lot of people actually have been talking about more as one of the teams who they think could make a run at Beal, make a run at a third star.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little less with Harden he was being traded just because of I think it would take too much to get Harden for them, or it would have, but Beal's gonna his price point's a little lower. So
Right.
in this one you have it's three of the dudes who were just in the Mavs one. So it's Brad Beal, Jerome Robinson, Isak Bonga. And then Wizards get back Will Barton, 2 years, 13 mil. Gary Harris, 2 years, 19 mil. Neither of those guys have really panned out the way that Denver wanted them to. They're not horrible. Barton's dealt with some. They both actually dealt with some injuries.
Yep.
Harris is probably a little more overpaid. Dozier's 2 years, 1.7 mil, and he looks great. He looks like he could be a player in this league
For sure.
10 years. And Bull, obviously young, promising. Then they have 21 first, 22nd swap, 24 swap, and 25. So it's the same exact, basically, trade
Picks wise.
draft wise. Yes. And then I see there's the money isn't expiring as the same year as the Mavs is, but it's only one other year.
Right.
Year and a half on these guys. So, and I could be wrong. There could be player options on those. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, let me just go ahead and walk through what I was thinking here. So when I was kind of looking at this team, the first thing I asked myself was, how does Denver go about this without getting rid of Michael Porter Jr.? You know, if the Wizards brass is getting on the phone, they're wanting MPJ, no doubt about it. It's up to Denver to figure out how to make that work. So you get a young player in Gary Harris who, yeah, like you alluded to, has had some injury woes, an awesome defender, a great off-ball hooper on the wing that you can kind of just plug in any team, in any role. And then if you're trying to give up some young talent, give them a chance on Bol. I know all Denver fans love Bol, and this was supposed to be the breakout season for him. And the time he's played, he has looked good. But we're talking Bradley Beal here. It's going to put Denver over the top. So you give up Bol. You give the young point guard PJ Dozier, who's 6'6", can guard 1 through 3s. He looks great this season as well. He's getting a lot of playing time. He looks very comfortable. So that's good for him, especially with Denver needing him to probably take a leap going into the playoffs. He's going to probably have to play some minutes because of his defense. And then you give a veteran in Will Barton, which I do believe Will Barton has a player op, but don't quote me on that. I know Gary Harris does not. But yeah, like you said, you're just taking a year and a half on of these guys. It at least gives Washington a little bit of depth as far as better players on the roster. They might not win.
It also gives them the chance to, if they want to flip Harris, again next year for a pick or something like that.
Yeah.
It gives them the option to do that. So it does give them a little more flexibility. And I doubt it's not like the. I mean, this pretty much is like the Mavs trade.
Yeah.
In the sense that it gives them the space. The Mavs trade just gives them space to take on guys expirings to flip, whereas this trade, these guys become the expirings next year that they could then flip. So it's basically the same thing in that sense. So they could in turn say, hey, we want another pick, flip Harris next year to somebody, or Barton, probably more likely just because of that number with Harris. But Harris, let's say he goes there and he balls out, that 20 mil suddenly doesn't look so bad for 1 year for
maybe a contender,
I mean, and maybe not even maybe a team like maybe it is a team like the next caliber of a team who they have young guys and they just need another spark plug, and maybe they trade for Harris just so they can get the bird rights on him, and then they get him for a lesser deal than 20 or something like that, but they get another good piece. So there definitely is some flexibility there for the Wizards side if they did this.
Yeah, and then with the picks, similar to Dallas, I just figured if you're not giving away like a really young stud, like a proven stud, someone we know is going to be a future All-Star, you got to throw in a mass amount of picks. So you get the two pick swaps. We know the return for Harden and even Drew Holiday to Milwaukee was a little more, but we made the salaries match up for the Denver side.
Those teams' hands were forced. Though,
right, exactly. Like at least
a lot of people, I see a lot of people trying to say, well, Holiday deal got this, so you know that this player is going to get this if they get traded and all this. But situations are different.
Right.
The Bucks had to do that,
Had to.
and part of me feels like, and Harden is one of the top 5 players in the league. Bradley Beal is not. No offense. There is a difference between trading those guys, trading a top 5 dude, and trading for a all-star level dude.
Right.
And that's not a knock on Beal. He probably is better than that, and we really won't know until he's in another situation. But like Harden that was 4 picks and 3 swaps, or 3 picks and 4 swaps, something like that. I think it was 4 firsts and 3 swaps.
Right.
The Nets also partially, I believe, did all that because they are one. It's something the Nets do. They did it with the KG Pierce stuff years ago, and they have no problem just emptying out the picks to go for a ring, which
Right.
some franchises, organizations have no problem doing. That's fine. And that's what they did. But also, I think a little bit of that was the Kyrie. They were afraid of the Kyrie stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And that gives them insurance.
Right.
I mean, that still gives them insurance because you don't know. And it gives them insurance if something happens. And Harden is, like we said, top 5 player. So the Beal package doesn't have to be this bajillion picks. It can be 2 swaps and 2 firsts.
Yeah.
And it would be something that the Wizards would still be fine with getting.
Right, only because they know that they're not going to be a good team. So no matter what, they're probably most likely going to have at least 1 lottery pick in all of these drafts that they'll have multiple first-rounders in, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, they're just adding more assets to the treasure chest. From Denver's side, I love it. I think Bradley Beal would be perfect next to Jokic and Jamal Murray. We know Jamal Murray had the outburst in the bubble, but they need another play initiator, another scorer, and they can't just rely on Murray and Jokic to put the ball in the basket. And once again, we know Michael Porter Jr. has taken that step forward, but this will obviously help him. Just having another really good star-level player on the court, it just makes everyone better. So I feel like just inserting, if you just replace Gary Harris with Bradley Beal, that's a win. So.
Yeah, I feel like the Nuggets would also, or should also, be willing to put an MPJ in this deal, just because of there is only 1 ball. And
Right.
Jokic, Murray are very good on offense, and if you add Beal to that, that's 3 dudes who you're already like, you're almost Nets level overkill, not quite, just because they're not as talented, and then
Right.
adding MPJ to that.
Right.
That's so much offensive talent that you could get away with shipping out Porter if you had to, just to make Beal happen.
And you know, there's a lot of teams that will call for Michael Porter Jr. So there's a chance, you flip him in a separate deal and find a way to get other assets from another team or something. So.
Oh yeah, if I'm the Wizards, I'm definitely trying to get Porter, and whether I keep him or not doesn't matter.
Right.
I need control of that. I need control of that.
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
That contract. So let's move on.
Alrighty. Got your
this is the last one.
This is your last team here.
This is the Grizzlies. So this one, the news came out yesterday that he would only be going to a team of his choice, and I'm assuming that Beal is going to want to go to a contender. So this one's probably not gonna happen. It's probably the least likely of all the ones on the list right now. But I think this deal would put the Grizzlies up there and in the West. I think it would make them a playoff contending team, and I think that would make them put them a piece away from being a legitimate contender, because I think John Morant's better than people give him credit for, and they have Jaren Jackson Jr.
People know he's
people
a
do
stud.
gat him, but I think he's even better than that. I don't think he's like, I think he is sensational. I think he is the best player from last year's draft. I think he's Donovan Mitchell level, and I actually think he's better than Donovan Mitchell. And just being so young and being good on a bad team this quickly, I think Ja really, really changes the outlook for them going forward. So I think doing a deal like this is something they should absolutely be trying to do right now, because I think that in 2-3 years they could already be contending.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd have to get another massive piece, of course, just because they don't have the role players right now. But this deal is good enough to give them some more room because they still get to keep some of their young guys.
Right.
So this one would be Beal and Bonga for Gorgie Dang, who's 17 mil expiring. Justice Winslow, 13 mil, 2 years. Desmond Bain, who obviously they would want to try to keep, but you have to give up something else if you're getting Beal.
Right.
And they're 22 first, they're 24 first, and the 23 first swap. So the reason that this deal has less picks is because these picks are going to be better than all the other teams. Because if you put Beal on the Nuggets or the Mavs or the Dubs or the Celtics or someone like that, that is not a...
Yeah, you're looking at
lottery
26, 27, 28,
pick.
29.
And this is going to be a lottery pick. I mean, I don't know where, but this should be a lottery pick if Beal goes to the Grizzlies. So, and that would just be 21. But even then in 22, it probably is still maybe a fringe playoff one. And then 24, it would all just depend on what assets they add to the team by that point.
Mm-hmm.
And the same for 23, the swap. I mean, it probably wouldn't convey just because the Wizards would be worse. But there's other things you can do with that pick to turn it into a second or a future first after that. But they would give them the same thing as a couple of the other trades. Would give them expiring money from Ding. It would give them Justice Winslow, who is a super intriguing player. We still don't really know what to make of him. Is this what he is? Just a role playing guy who's capable of playing point guard,
Right.
but also a bigger body. But
Yeah, I was gonna say the last time we
feel
saw
like
him
we've just
play
never-
healthy, he was playing under Eric Spoelstra as like a point forward, and he was killing it. He was having a career season right before he was shipped to Memphis, and it looked promising. And then he's been hurt his entire time in a Grizzlies jersey. I don't even know if he's played a game yet. So we still have a lot to still witness. But if Taylor Jenkins down there in Memphis can figure out how to utilize him like Eric Spoelstra did, changing his role up a little bit, there's a high ceiling there. So maybe Washington's getting a good player.
Yeah, and even then, Washington, what if they just start throwing out wonky lineups? They just throw him out there and let him see what he can do, because
Right.
why not?
Exactly.
What else, if you trade
Nothing to
Beal, what
lose.
else do you have?
Nothing to lose
So,
at that point.
I absolutely see. I think that'd be a great move, and especially because it's 2 years left, 13 mil, not a terrible price, and it's enough time where you can make a decision if you let him play. And then obviously Bane, 3-point shooter, gives them some more spacing.
He's
They don't really
been
have anyone
awesome.
who can do that other than
He's,
Bertans. Yeah,
he's been awesome
amazing.
this year. By the way, if you guys don't know about Desmond Bain, please go, one, check out his college highlights, and secondly, go check out his NBA highlights. I know it's only been a month and some change now into the season, but he's a rookie who looks comfortable, and he's got the ratchet on him. That boy can shoot.
Yeah. So this would give, and then they get the picks. We were going through those. And then Beal on the Grizzlies would be Beal, John Morant. That's absolutely two killers for one. And then they'd have Jaren Jackson, Valanciunas, at least for the rest of the year. And whoever they'd go with at the three, they'd go slow-mo. They got a couple of other options there. But this would give them another star. Like I said, I don't think this one would be the one, not ever since that report came out, that it would have to be a team that Beal, apparently there was a verbal agreement when he signed his 2-year extension that they would send him to a team he wanted to, and they plan to honor that verbal agreement. So probably not happening, but would be intriguing nonetheless for Memphis and honestly Washington. I don't even hate that for Washington. You're getting less picks, but Winslow is intriguing,
and so is Bane.
Expiring's good, and Bane, you have control of Bane now.
Right. And
years.
at a low number. At a low number.
Yeah, and those picks are probably better than. I mean, if you like that Celtics deal, if you give them like 4 firsts, then or even 3 firsts, those picks are all going to be way worse than these firsts from Memphis.
Right, because Memphis would still, like you said, would be kind of like on the fringe.
Be a piece away.
Yeah, they'd be a piece away. I think you could lock them in as a potential playoff team. I feel like if you get Beal, because I mean they were on the cusp last year, around that 8-9 seed for the entire year until the bubble. I mean, you just add Bradley Beal on that team and you replace it with a couple of these pieces, ancillary pieces that don't mean as much. I mean, you're at least solidifying Memphis as a playoff roster at that point. And yeah, I still think they're one piece away. Jaren Jackson Jr. He's still raw, but still so good. So he's got a lot more room to grow. And like you said, John Morant, year two, it looks like he's going to be running the league, be the best point guard in the league in the next 5 years, possibly. It's going to be him or Luka. So
Yeah, and it all just depends if you don't count Luka as a point guard. I think in 5 years Morant will be the best point in the league.
right.
So let's finish this up. We got one more. This is your trade, and we have the Dubs, don't we?
We do have the Golden State Warriors. I'm excited for this one. Break it down for them. Who we got in this trade?
So this is one where we're shipping out Robin Lopez, and we're shipping out Beal, of course. And we're shipping out Lopez for Looney, which is why we can do that, because they need a center. So Looney will come in and play center for them. He was really highly touted a couple of years ago. After one of the Warriors playoff runs, I remember wanting my Mavs to go after him. Since then, I know he's gone. Everyone, man, he's gone through an injury. So he's missed some time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wiggins going to the Wizards, 3 years, $29.5 million. They're also getting the 25 first rounder from the Dubs. They're getting Minnesota's first this year and a 23 first from the Dubs. Break it down. I got to hear it.
Okay, so clearly if the Warriors could find a way to construct a deal for Bradley Beal, I'm sure they're going to want to avoid giving up their big three in Curry, Thompson, and Draymond. It was really hard not to include Draymond in the deal. I feel like there's no way you could include Klay Thompson, but Draymond is a possibility depending on what Washington's looking for. But even then, why would you want to put Draymond Green on a young team like the Wizards, who aren't really going to be playing for anything except the lottery? I'm sure he wouldn't be happy there. So you give up the Minnesota picks. I was honestly wanting to put in the Minnesota second rounder as well that the Dubs hold for next year as well in the draft. I just didn't end up putting it in there, but you get a 2021 first from Minnesota. Minnesota's going to be bad this year, so that pick will be great. Washington will have 2 lottery picks potentially. You give up the Warriors 2023 first, which if they get Beal, it probably won't be that good. And then a top 10 protected 2025 pick, because at that point we're going to see these franchise players for the Warriors get to a point where they're going to have to re-up contracts. We don't know how that's going to go. I know they spend a lot of money in the luxury, but what do you do at that point when you got to start paying 4 guys $40 million plus? So
yeah, we have no idea what that's going to look like.
Right.
Because Steph's been injury prone his whole career. Clay's going to be coming off these injuries. That's still 4 years from now.
Right.
We have absolutely no idea what that Warriors team could look like. I mean, other than Beal, for sure.
Right.
I don't think that the Dubs shouldn't absolutely just completely screw it up. So they should have some talent on the roster. No idea what it looks like at that point.
Right.
But
that's why I threw on the protection on that 2025 pick,
I
because
do like this.
Yeah.
I like this. I honestly think the Dubs have to put in James Wiseman too if they're going to get this deal done.
See, that's another thing I was thinking about.
I think the
Warriors are so in love with him. I don't see a world where they're going to want to give him up just to get Beal, because that's, at least they know Wiseman. Yeah, Beal's young enough, but at least they know Wiseman is super young, that they'll be able to have control over him for like the next 8 seasons. You know, that's tough to just give up, because after if all goes well after his rookie contract, I'm sure they'll sign the rookie extension with him. And that rate, of course, would be cheaper than what you would have to pay Bradley Beal at that time. So
I just think that they need a little more, just a little more.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, that Minnesota pick is absolutely
golden.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's golden.
That's huge. That's really, really good. But I just think they need a little more, because I think Wiggins is a negative asset too.
He is.
I mean, you're taking a flyer on him. It's the same thing as everyone's been saying about him for 3 years. Who wants Wiggins? Anyone who would want Wiggins is a bad team who wants to take a flyer on him.
Right.
That's all it is. So, I mean, I think it's a negative asset. He could turn it around and then become a positive one. And he's not horrible. Don't get me wrong. He's not horrible. It's just that number is not fair for him. And then you're going to have to pay him again after that. And who do you pay him another max? Like, it's super tough gauging his talent to money level, and he just really doesn't seem like he's worth it. So
Right, and I get that maybe possibly if the Warriors look to actually had trade that pick, which turned out to be Wiseman, if they looked into trading that pick, say around the draft, I'm sure they would have included that in a Beal trade. So yeah, to a degree, you're right in the sense that, I mean, if you're going after Bradley Beal, I'm sure they would have included that number 2 pick, and I mean Wiseman would have been a Wizard all along, but. Either way,
and they would have had to give up Wiggins or
yeah, it would have to been Wiggins, probably the number 2 pick, and that Minnesota pick. I mean, that was probably the starting ground right there, and then from there you work around the other pieces. But you at least give the Wizards a younger center in Kayvon Looney. They take a hit with Wiggins in that contract, but we know it's flippable. He's already been flipped a couple times now, so it can be done. And yeah, I mean, once again, the Wizards are just getting a few picks that they know will help, with the rebuild, and the Dubs just become a super team again. They'll have, basically, if Draymond Green stays healthy and plays at the level we know he's capable of, and you got those 2 best shooters of all time out there on the court, and you just add Bradley Beal, you're talking 3 of the best shooters in the league on one team, but possibly 3 of the best shooters in history. So that would be scary.
I'm starting to notice all these teams that were hypothetically giving Brad Beal, none of them play any defense. The closest would probably be, probably
Miami?
Heat
Yeah, I was thinking Miami.
Heat or
Boston?
or Dallas. Yeah, maybe Boston, but
Yeah, none of these are, or the Sixers, but
it's the players when we're giving up Beal, we're giving up guys who play a little defense.
right.
These,
We're giving up the depth that
it's-
makes the defense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd just be these offenses are just outrageous. But I mean, honestly, it looks like that's what the league's turning into anyway. So
Yep. You're looking for guys.
just
You're looking
teams
for a
who
bunch of
put-
you're looking for a bunch of guys who can help you get to 150 points, not hold the other team to 90. That's the way the league has shifted. So you're looking for tons of scorers, tons of shooters.
yeah, absolutely. Because once you get to the finals, once you're in those last couple teams left, everyone's scoring. Your defense matters, but as long as you're not a complete liability, you can play, and it's more important that you can put the ball in the hoop. At least the way the NBA is going right now.
Especially in the postseason.
Yeah.
With this
'Cause
trade,
everyone starts playing defense in the postseason. Even guys you don't see play defense in the regular season start playing defense in the postseason. So,
right? Would this put the, with your take, would this put the Warriors as the number 1 team in the West again?
no, because they still don't have a bench, but their team. I mean, they just have too many question marks. But like, if we're just like, for sake's argument, saying that Thompson comes back healthy, then yeah, they got to be up there. I don't know if they're exactly number 1, but they're top 3 for sure.
I mean, the depth
Just too
would
much talent. I mean,
right.
just think of the 5.
Steph, Clay, Beal, Draymond,
It's
Wiseman.
disgusting. And it's not fair, and it pisses me off. But
Hey, it wasn't fair for 3 straight years when Kevin Durant just walked there. So we've dealt with it before.
it's what happens when you have 2 guys who can play off ball and on ball and shoot the 3 like top 5 3-point shooters of all time. We've never seen. Doesn't matter what you do, players are going to want to go play there, and if they're star level players, the team's just going to be a joke because those guys can play off ball so well that stars will just thrive there, like we saw Kevin
Right.
do.
So easy to play off ball in that system. You just get to play freely. This one would be crazy though. But that's the conclusion of our 8 trades.
Yep.
Yeah, part 2.
We just gotta we just gotta wait and see what happens in real life now.
Yep.
And we gotta wait and see if it's gonna be sooner or later. I have no idea. I think it happens the halfway mark of this year.
Yeah, I do too. I have a feeling it'll happen this year. Bradley Beal's a really good guy, so there's a chance he may say, let's wait to the offseason, look at all our options, but there's no way he's going to continue just dealing with all these L's, especially the consecutive losses. He's been on a streak right now of just the Wizards losing.
I think actions speak louder than words. Beal's saying all the right things, but his actions tell us he is not happy. And I mean, he's even said it, but I don't think you act the way he's acting and pout like he's pouting unless you're trying to send a message without saying words.
Right.
Because he's being extra about it.
Oh,
I'm
no
not even
doubt.
gonna lie.
No
He's
doubt.
being
You can see
super extra
his
about
mannerisms on the bench and the way he puts his hands in his head. He's like you said, actions louder than words. He's not saying it like James Harden does, but he's showing it with his facial expressions and his demeanor, and rightfully so.
I don't feel bad for the man. I when he signed that extension, I was like, damn, he could have came to Dallas for free. He didn't do that because now he's on a 2-year, and that'd be next 2 years. He could have just waved goodbye at the end.
Hey,
of this
listen,
year.
he was looking out for his bag.
Could have gone anywhere for free. He was looking out for his bag.
Because the extension he signed will put him, after it's done, will put him at the 10-year mark of his career, and when you get to the 10 mark, that's when you get that super max. So
as a man, I respect it. As a fan, I hate it.
right,
So
man's got to get his bread. But hey, at the end of the day, like we've been saying, free Bradley Beal. That's all we know.
you ain't never lie.
Thanks for tuning in to the NARP experiment. Please hit a like and subscribe on your way out. We'll see you next game.
Home run like Sammy Sosa. 2 clutch last period. Get ready, set, go. This a NARP experience. It's a NARP experience. Said this a NARP experience. Said this a NARP experience. This a NARP experience.